Hakeem Olufemi Gbajabiamila. God bless you all.
One, we still give them that window to hurriedly make their submissions and appear to defend whatever they are submitting.
Lawmakers frown at state and MDAs over ecological funds.
Nigeria is the second highest country with recovery after COVID.
And Nigeria Aviation sector rated high for post-COVID recovery. Welcome to another edition of House Ticket, a weekly program that educates you on the workings of the House of Representatives, Federal Republic of Nigeria. On our lineup today, the House Committee on Ecological Funds met with stakeholders in the ecological sector as it commenced investigation into the accruals and utilization of ecological funds. We also have reports of budget defense by ministries, departments and agencies as they appeared before various House committees, from where we will see the Minister of Aviation, Minister of Police Affairs, Chairman of Nigeria Diaspora Commission, to mention a few. The full stories after this timeout. Please stay tuned.
The entire purpose of the legislative agenda is to direct our legislative resources and efforts in a coordinated effort to ensure the well-being of the individual in a life of safety and freedom. That is a high ambition, but it's well worth the effort. We have passed landmark legislation to fix our oil and gas industry, reform the police, and reorganize the corporate administration system in our country. We have considered and passed meaningful legislation that impacts all areas of our national life.
Welcome back. The House of Representatives has declared its commitment to do everything within its power to address environmental challenges in Nigeria. The Speaker of the House, Representative Femi Gbajabiamila, made this known on Monday, November 7th, at an investigative hearing by the House Committee on Ecological Fund. He was represented by the Deputy Leader of the House, Representative Peter Patterson.
The objective of this public investigative hearing is to gather data to design public policy and guide governance decision-making entirely. It is not an exercise in witch hunting or score settling.
It will be recalled that the committee was mandated by the House to investigate the total consolidated mandatory accruals into the Ecological Fund, evaluate the disbursement of the fund in line with provisions of the 1999 Constitution, investigate the utilization of the fund by benefiting governments, departments and agencies, as well as establish infractions, if any, from 2010 to March 2022. Speaking at the investigative hearing, the chairman of the committee, Representative Ibrahim Isiaka, called on beneficiaries of the Ecological Fund who have had one challenge or the other with the fund to contact the committee for necessary legislative action.
The committee further beseeches all rightful beneficiaries who are either excluded, shortchanged, or having difficulties accessing the fund to immediately contact the committee for a necessary legislative action.
He noted that all the 3 tiers of government and federal agencies involved in dealing with ecological challenges have monthly federal allocation to deal with emergencies such as flood, drought and wild weather, among others.
Each of the 3 tiers, that is the local government, the state government and the federal government, have a sizable budget at their disposals, allocated monthly, precisely for dealing with these high-level natural and human-instigated emergencies, as well as federal agencies dedicated to do the same. Presently, under the prevailing revenue allocation formula, 2.32% of derivation funds are set aside for ecology and disaster management.
The chairman, who was not pleased with the attitude of many states, Ministries, departments and agencies added that if President Muhammadu Buhari as the president can send a compendium of how the federal government spent the Ecological Fund during his administration, states should be able to do same.
I don't now see anyone, any institution that should refuse the invitation of this committee. But we have some good news for them. One, we still give them that window to hurriedly make their submissions and appear to defend whatever they are submitting. Or they will be willing to go and defend themselves, at another institutions of the government. Because when we send our reports, definitely another institution will invite them. I can assure them.
House Ticket will monitor developments and bring you reports as they unfold. Up next, Minister of Aviation says national carrier to be launched soon. Details after the break.
You know, this is the budget defense season. This is a matter of national emergency.
Tell us how far you've gone in meeting your mandate.
We reject this budget. This budget cannot work.
We allow the minister to take a bow and go.
Okay, so please you can proceed to the Senate.
Is it the wish of the committee? Yes.
The Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, on Tuesday, the 8th of November 2022, appeared before the House Committee on Aviation to present his ministry's 2022 budget implementation and the 2023 budget proposal. In the course of the presentation, the minister noted that the ministry has recorded some significant achievements in virtually all aspects of the aviation sector under President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. These achievements, he said, made the aviation sector the fastest growing sector of the Nigerian economy before COVID-19, the third fastest growing during COVID-19, and now the second with the highest recovery rate after COVID-19.
And today, as we are exiting COVID, already Nigeria is the second highest country with recovery after COVID. According to Airports Council International, Nigeria has recorded 110% pre-COVID numbers. This is unprecedented. It's only Colombia in the entire world that has seen growth and recovery after COVID. Nigeria is the second in the entire world.
The minister added that the national carrier, Nigeria Air, will be launched soon.
I am highly elated to inform you that the national carrier, Nigeria Air, is well on its way to be launched soon, with a Boeing 737 in its fleet for the domestic operations. And later, the international operations will be introduced. As I said, this launching, as chairman, will begin within the domestic market until such a time that we have the certification and approvals to go international and intercontinental, which will be soon.
Senator Hadi Sirika also gave highlights of the ministry's budget performance for 2022.
Honorable members, the total capital appropriation for the Ministry of Aviation for the year 2022 was 58,840 even, which is the sum of 37,767,028,823 naira and 71 kobo, representing 65.11%, was released to the ministry as at August 2022.
He also gave highlights of the ministry's budget proposal for 2023.
On the proposal for 2023, the sum of 52,683,360,992 naira is being proposed for capital, and then of course for overhead is 416,294,223 naira, and then personnel cost would be 452,000,000 821,000 even.
However, the chairman of the House Committee on Aviation, Representative Nolim Nnaji, took the minister on over unutilized funds for 2020 and 2021 appropriation years.
The ministry received a total of 21.8 billion. The 12.8 billion capital release 2020. The sum of which about 15.2 billion was utilized with a balance of 6 billion, about 6.6. And also in 2021, the ministry received 59.1 billion release. 32.9 billion was utilized with a balance of 26 billion. So I want to know, what are you planning to do? Because if you recall, the last time we discussed this issue, you told us that due to, actually you promised us that you are going to, you are expecting approvals or whatever to come from BP. Now, we are still, from the document you submitted to us, these funds are still not utilized. So what we are planning?
In the majority, the funds are actually committed to the projects and the projects are ongoing. So we had an understanding and we went and defended it before finance to show them where we are and where the money is, and for them to warehouse the money so that we do not lose the money, and the money will continue to be applied to the projects and programs because they are committed and at various stages of completion.
Please, can I just request for executive section with the minister, please?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Still on budget defense, the Minister of Police Affairs, Muhammad Dingyadi, appeared before the National Assembly Joint Committee on Police Affairs to speak on the ministry's 2022 budget performance and 2023 budget proposal. This was on Tuesday, November the 8th, 2022. Also present at the budget defense was the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali, and other top police officers. The minister noted that the 2023 budget proposal for the ministry is inadequate.
Though the demand upon the ministry is to carry out its mandate of ensuring adequate security of lives and property in Nigeria, the provisions proposed for this task in the year 2023, particularly for the main ministry and the police academy within, are considered inadequate.
He also gave highlights of the ministry's 2022 budget performance and proposed budget for 2023.
The main ministry has total budget of 3,553,059,805 naira. The formations and commands, that is for Nigerian Police Force, they are having 580,450,659 naira.
After the minister's presentation, the committee went into an executive session.
So please, members of the press, all the cameramen, and the aides, supporting staff who are not up to the rank of directors, please excuse us.
The program is still House Tickets. The National Population Commission, NPC, was at the National Assembly last week for budget defense. For details of interaction with the committee and other reports, let's take our next report as compiled and presented from our studio.
Deputy, honorable colleagues.
The National Population Commission, NPC, was grilled over its spending of 1.2 billion naira to host a one-day stakeholder summit in the presidential villa. This came after the chairman of the National Population Commission, Nasir Isakwara, who was represented by Balabaye, a federal commissioner, made his presentation to the committee during the budget defense exercise currently ongoing in the National Assembly.
Percentage of releases to date 58.6% and percentage of performance based on the release 40.54%. So details are coming page 7 and 8.
Members raised observations on the presentation by the NPC while seeking further clarifications.
As far as I'm concerned, from what I'm seeing here, the releases and the allocation to the subjects, to the line items, Mr. Chairman, I mean, it's nothing to write home about. That is the truth. And secondly, I'm also very anxious about a program that was done some months back at the villa. So I would like the agency to tell us how much was expended on that presidential retreat that was done at the villa. I think it was a presidential retreat to summit, a presidential summit, one-day presidential summit, right? It was a one-day presidential summit. Exactly. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like this agency to tell us how much was expended on that one-day presidential summit, which actually held in the villa.
The item on page 11, which has to do with the releases on your expenditure performance for releases on personnel. I wouldn't know whether it was a slip of tongue or you mentioned 5,907,000,000, but the document here with me says 5,905,000,000. I wouldn't know which one we should go. Should we correct this to reflect what you read out, or we should retain this and assume that it was a slip of tongue?
Last year, during the budget defense, we were told that there is a presidential intervention for the census, for the demarcation. But when you are presenting your performance for the 2022, you didn't indicate anything. Have you received that money, which is about, is it 10 billion naira or something like that? If you have received, can you furnish this committee with the details of the expenditure?
While responding, the Director Census, Mrs. Arinola Olanipeku, said the money was 1.9 billion naira and that it was not just for the one-day event held at the villa, but also for similar stakeholders' meetings that were held in the 36 states as well as the FCT.
The 1.9 billion was for the total for the entire program, and the national was 129,520 million. And the national stakeholder is very necessary because we've got to start from the top. And you will agree with us that with the president doing it himself that day, really added a lot of color and confirmation.
Okay. The Director of Finance, Mr. Benjamin Fagbemi of the NPC, corroborated the presentation by the Director of Census, Mrs. Olanipeku, on the monies spent during the one-day summit held at the villa.
Okay. It's two things. The first one, 129 for Abuja. The 1.2 billion, 36 states plus FC.
Okay, what?
The committee was, however, not satisfied with the response and answers by the NPC over money spent, particularly on the presidential summit as well as conferences organized across the country. It therefore ruled that the commission comes back after 1 week with more documents and facts to clear up discrepancies in their presentation.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure you should just pick up his line.
In another development, Abike Dabiri Erewa, the chairman of Nigeria Diaspora Commission, appeared before the Committee on Diaspora to defend the Commission's 2023 budget. This was on Thursday, November 10, 2022. Discussing diaspora matters, Abike Dabiri Erewa said that there have been issues with airlines issuing visas amongst others. She explains
and then,
more.
Back to the issue of even Dubai now, it's a big problem. And we've been talking about this thing. Fine, the issue with airlines. Airlines, they will solve their problems. There's issue with not issuing visas. It will be solved eventually. What I think UAE will do is change their visa rules. This one that you just go to an agent, you get a visa, may change. So maybe they will be stricter about it. Go to VFS, do your biometrics, and get your visa. I think that's the process there. But right now, not officially communicated, but they are not issuing visas. But what worries me is that right now in Dubai, even Nigerian professionals, their work visas are not being renewed.
That's the problem.
So, once your visa expires, they are sending you back. And that is why they say a whole lot that has to be brought back. And when we warned that time that the bad will affect the good, nobody listened.
She urged Nigerians to stop migrating to other countries if they do not have jobs, adding that 80% of prisoners in Dubai were Nigerians who went there without jobs and got into trouble.
My chairman, we've argued about this thing. There's no way you become a security issue in another country and they'll just keep quiet. So we have to tell ourselves the truth ourselves. But diplomatic discussions are ongoing, but honestly speaking, they will yap me again. 80% of people in Dubai prisons are Nigerians. And it's gotten to a stage where it's affecting their own tourism. Madam Chairman, there are things I cannot say that has happened. Because there's something that if you're here, if you are traveling there, you will turn back. Because some of our people have done ABCD. So while discussions are ongoing, we need to tell ourselves the truth. This is a country that's strictly on tourism. We cannot destroy what they stand for.
The chairman of the committee made some observations on the subject matter.
Some of these people that live are ignorant. And two, immigration is complicit. So the more we talk in the House, the less immigration is doing. I personally was traveling one day last year. I saw a young girl who said she was going to to Argentina. She looked very lost on the queue. And I asked her, Argentina, what are you going to do in Argentina? She said she's going to meet her uncle, and I immediately called immigration officers on duty. And I drew the attention to this girl because for me it was obvious this was a human trafficking case. They let her go. So as much as we're shouting about this, once immigration is complicit, we're only making noise.
Madam Chairman,
they end up in diaspora and end up being a problem for you and I. Let's do that.
On the budget of NIDCOM, underfunding was a major issue which the committee promised to address.
We have made a case for it. It has not happened. We pray it will happen. If making it happen was left to me and her, it would have been done already. But we can only implore the people who make the decision, the appropriation committees, and the leadership of the House to see how they can make an improvement in this area.
Thank you for being a part of the program. We encourage you to continue sending in your questions and comments through our feedback channels showing on your screen. Until I come your way again, stay safe.